Cheers erupted as everyone felt overjoyed after hearing that the Goblin Slayer had utterly annihilated all the goblins. The inn's bartender then offered all their members an open bar, urging them to drink their fill, as it was completely on the house that day. Yet, many were still reeling in shock, unable to fully grasp how the Goblin Slayer managed to defeat such specialized goblins, including colossal and even mutated variants, especially when the rest of the brigade had been utterly decimated by that goblin tribe. But suddenly, something unexpected shot right into the inn, through the window, startling everyone present. Following, it was a massive flock of bats that then poured inside in overwhelming numbers. Everyone was understandably startled by this sudden interruption, but the Goblin Slayer remained uncharacteristically calm, informing everyone that these bats were none other than the cold-blooded mercenary squad, who loved to make a dramatic entrance. Wherever they went, one of the bats began to smile while hanging upside down from the ceiling, and then addressed the Goblin Slayer, asking why he wasn't seeking out the goblins' hideout, since he'd already encountered hundreds and swiftly defeated them. After that encounter, the Bat Commander then inquired if the goblins had actually reached the fabled nest of the mother yet, because goblins are just pesky, weak creatures who were amusingly weak and utterly laughable. They surely didn't have the brains to find the fabled nest and reach the mother they spoke of. But to this, the Goblin Slayer simply told the bats that the goblins' hideout location was clear, and once the Goblin Slayer wrapped things up in the inn, he would head there. But since the bat was already there with his army, the Goblin Slayer wondered if this creature actually had what it takes to handle some measly goblins. This was, in fact, a clever scheme by the Goblin Slayer lady, so that she could provide Lin with some fresh creatures to feast upon. But the Bat Squad completely fell for the trap. They told the goblins and everyone else present to rest easy and not worry. They'd handle finding the goblins' hideout and wiping out the rest of the goblin tribe themselves. That mission belonged to the mercenary squad. Hearing all this, the Goblin Slayer was subtly smiling inside her armor. She stood up, announcing to everyone that he wasn't a fan of teaming up with others or working at night, so the Bat Squad would have to go alone. The Goblin Slayer wouldn't be accompanying them, oblivious to their impending doom. The mercenary squad was overjoyed. They thought they'd nab the entire bounty and keep it all to themselves, instead of sharing with the Goblin Slayer. As the scene shifted, we saw it was nighttime, with the moon shining brightly overhead. Meanwhile, all the Bat Squad members began their search through the Forbidden Forest for the Goblin tribe's elusive hideout. Their subordinates reported back to their commander after their scouting mission that there were no significant goblin troops near the hideout. It seemed completely unprotected. Even the distinct scent of blood they'd been tracking had vanished. So, they were absolutely certain the goblins were inside the hideout cave, with security clearly lax. The commander gave the order for the Bat Squad to enter the cave without any further delays. The mercenary squad initiated their coordinated plan to take over the cave. Meanwhile, multiple soldier goblins spotted many bats swarming towards their hideout. They quickly stood their ground, realizing the bats were invading. They'd have to remain unfazed and draw them out. But a few soldier goblins were no match for their flock of 100 vampire bats. After a brief skirmish, the bats swiftly defeated all the goblins. The commander scoffed at the pitiful number of goblin soldiers, thinking it was just a joke, keeping only one mutated goblin at the cave entrance was a blunder, a huge mistake by the goblin tribe's leader. They even wondered if they were in the wrong place entirely, because the commander guessed, judging by the sheer number of goblins, it seemed they were only a mid-sized tribe, not a massive one. However, the commander suddenly recalled that the legendary Goblin Slayer himself had told them he had slain a great many goblins, monstrous in size and horribly mutated, so perhaps only a precious few were left, somehow still guarding their hidden lair. This thought made the Bat Commander crack a wicked smile, believing it was the perfect moment to storm their hideout and drain the goblins dry. while they were in deep slumber within their tribe's domain. The Bat Commander then ordered all its subordinates to charge straight inside the cave to drain every single goblin dry of their blood. But the moment one of these subordinates started flying toward the goblin to drain its blood dry, it was struck by some kind of projectile emanating a brilliant golden aura. And with just one blast from this powerful energy attack, the bat was dead on the spot. As everyone else in the Bat Army turned around, they beheld a beautiful lady fiercely protecting the goblin tribe with her powerful magical spells. As their commander turned, he was utterly shocked to see that inside the goblin tribe, a human was present, and this human was none other than Ephraia, the holy daughter of the temple. Ephraia brandished her magic staff, materializing a holy staff right in her hand. Meanwhile, all the other goblins snuck up on the bats, burning the very ground below them, effectively trapping them. The commander quickly realized they had been perfectly trapped by the goblins and had fallen victim to their cunning, deceptive plan. All of the other vampire bats desperately looked to their commander about what their next move should be. But before they could even process what to do next, we see that it was none other than Lin, who emerged from behind the cave, wondering why this mercenary squad dared to infiltrate his hideout just to suck his blood. He wanted to know what kind of tricks these vampire bats of the mercenary squad possessed. But upon hearing that, the commander erupted in anger, using its wings to completely cover itself, as it began to be engulfed by a dark aura, which surrounded it completely. And once the process was complete, we saw that, as everyone would have guessed, the Bat Commander subscribed to the channel and left a like on the video, transforming into a beautiful lady in her alluring dress, which perfectly matched the vampire theme. The lady elegantly pulled her hair back while realizing that sucking the goblin's blood was impossible, so they would have to slice and dice them. To win this invasion, the system then popped up, telling Lin that the lady was named Lilith, a level 61 vampire equipped with armor, boasting 2,800 damage resistance, along with 500 defense, and 500 skill points in both blood-sucking and bloodlust. Even Lin realized these stats were completely off the charts, but he was still lucky because Lin had caught wind of the bloodless mercenaries' ambush plans earlier through the system, which gave him enough time to gear up and counter them properly. As the scene shifts, we see Lilith soaring through the sky, sending multiple shockwaves through her powerful bat wings. The goblins were utterly unable to counter them due to the sheer force of those shockwaves. The lady was able to blow the fire away, but Lin was simply smiling, highly amused by the lady's desperate attempts to help her mercenary squad escape. Lin still had a trick up his sleeve, and he told Freya to cast an energy buff on each and every goblin in the group as they started glowing with a golden aura. It was so blinding that all the bats, along with their commander, were unable to see properly. Commander Lilith was unable to comprehend how only a goblin leader could wield holy magic. But before she could even process it, wondering what her next move should be, many of her Bat Lady soldiers had fainted, purged by the holy light magic's purifying effect. Meanwhile, Lin began to smile as he told the commander that fighting the goblin tribe would be utterly pointless, and they should simply sit down and talk it out instead. But upon hearing that, the lady merely offered an ominous smile, her resolve clearly unbroken. But Lin completely exposed the lady, revealing he knew she was once involved with bounty hunting herself. However, Lin still wondered why these bloodthirsty vampires and their mercenary group sought to make money, despite their immense power. But hearing that, the lady began to blush, unable to believe someone had actually complimented her and her army. Still, she maintained her composure, as she then told Lin that the Holy Church and the Sword Saint were not forces to be trifled with, and they had made an agreement with the vampire bats, banning them from drinking human blood. So they were now earning money to buy it and fulfill their desire for human blood by collecting it through blood banks. After hearing this explanation, Lin realized that If he could win the entire mercenary squad over, it would boost the tribe's potential by multiple folds.